This is Zach's beautiful 96 12-valve truck from Louisiana, and he's got a problem. He put a 6-speed transmission in here where it used to have a 5-speed, and now he doesn't have a speedometer because from the factory on these trucks, the speedometer read off of the tail shaft of the transmission, and the 5600 transmission never had a provision for that. It's pretty clean on the interior. Zach really takes pride in the engine bay on this thing. That's what he's rocking for a speedometer right now. That ain't gonna cut it. Our plan is to use this signal interface module from Dakota Digital to convert the rear wheel speed sensor off of the differential into the correct signal for the speedometer to pick it up. All of the later model second gens read the speedometer reading off of the rear diff. So we're gonna make this truck that way. We gotta figure out where we wanna mount this thing. It is not waterproof, so we can't mount it in the engine bay, because if you spray your engine down with water or whatever, I don't want this thing to fail. We're just to the right of the throttle pedal here. There's a nice empty space that it can mount up there, but this is really thick firewall insulation, and there's no good way to mount it to that. And if I take it away, you know, we could risk increasing in-cab temperatures and stuff like that. What I have come up with is I want to mount this thing directly to the bottom of the steering column here, and so that way it's nice and easily accessible. I can route the wires away from all the other moving components. I also want this thing to be easily serviceable, so that's why I chose to mount it to the bottom of the column like I did. It'll be out of harm's way, and you can still diagnose it really easily here on the face of it. This is our little bracket I drew up, and now we're going to 3D print it over here. Here's our finished steering column mount. Got a couple of nice hose clamps going through there, and it's got a 1/4 inch of plastic all the way around that half circle, so it's not going to pull through. And then I shelled out the inside here to use up less plastic, and it's pre-drilled for the 2 holes for the screws. Wiring schematics on these trucks are mediocre on their best day, and so I traced the wire that comes out of the transmission speed sensor harness that was underneath the chassis, and I followed it all the way up to the instrument cluster here, and this is the only connector where I'm getting good continuity is at the actual cluster itself. It's this orange, it's this white and orange wire on pin 4. That's going to be our output going to our speedometer. We're going to tie into this wire here and run it down to our aftermarket module. And the 2 wires from the rear diff speed sensor run up here. They're the red and purple and white and purple right there in the middle of the screen. Those are the 2. We're going to cut those and run those directly to our module as well. All the wiring we added has some nice braided loom on it with heat shrink on the ends to keep it from fraying. Okay, so y'all don't have to go through the headache I did. You're going to want it on the high-low setting, and then you're going to want your speedometer output on output 3. The other wires are pretty self-explanatory. You get power and ground on the top 2 pins, and then this is my 2 factory speedometer wires that we tied into, and the purple one goes into the input, and the white one, which is the sensor ground, goes into SPD ground. This is that harness after we went ahead and picked these up. We didn't end up cutting these because these wires also feed the ABS unit. So if you cut these wires, you'll disable the ABS on the truck. So we just piggybacked off of here for the signal, then went straight into our module here. Don't be leaving no dirty old messes in the floorboard of people's trucks. Well, here she is, completely installed. Got our wires all tucked back up real nice, and got our module mounted to the steering column, and it's nice and solid. I'm pretty dang happy with how that bracket came out. I'm real happy with that. Here we're calibrating the speedometer. I got the wonderful wife who mean mugged me right there to hold it at 2,000 RPM. We should be at 74 miles an hour with this gear ratio and tire size. We're looking pretty good here. The audio was ruined because the truck was so loud. And then if the speedometer is not correct, you come down here and press the minus sign to lower the speedometer reading, which you can see me do here. And then if it's not fast enough, you hit the plus one. That Chingadera says 70, and that Chingadera says 70. We're good.